If you've ever wished that when you turn 50, people would still look at you with the same quiet awe they once did when you were 30, not because of makeup or any expensive beauty secret, but because the light in your eyes never faded, then don't scroll away. This moment is for you. Here's something most people never say out loud. It isn't age that makes someone look old. What truly makes a woman grow old is when the light in her eyes slowly goes out. It's when the spark that once made her feel alive gets buried under layers of stress, heartbreak, and the weight of years. And yet, there are women who walk through life differently. Women who, at 50 or 60, don't hide from time. They walk through it. They glow, not with youth, but with a timeless kind of grace, a beauty that makes time itself soften around them. Have you ever met a woman like that? Someone who doesn't have to speak, doesn't need to wear anything fancy, and yet, the moment she enters a room, something shifts. The air gets quieter. People notice, not because she's trying to be seen, but because her presence carries a warmth you can feel even from across the room. Carl Jung once said, "The light inside one person can make the whole world bow." That light is not in a bottle, not in a beauty routine, not in a perfect diet. That light is a soul that has come home to itself. When we're young, our radiance often comes from the outside, from the skin, the smile, the sense of possibility. But as we grow, real beauty comes from the storms we've walked through, the pain we've accepted, the quiet strength we've built in the dark. It's the kind of beauty that no wrinkle can erase. This video is not about chasing youth. It's about something far more powerful. It's about remembering and reigniting the fire that has always lived inside of you. Because when that light returns, everything about you softens. Your eyes shine differently. Your energy changes the way a room feels. And people don't see a number anymore. They see a presence. So before we go deeper, take a moment with me. Think back to a time in your life when you felt most alive. It might have been when you were 25, 30, or maybe just a quiet morning when you smiled at yourself in the mirror without needing a reason. Can you feel that moment again? If you can, I'd love for you to write just one word in the comments below. One word that describes how you felt in that memory. Why one word? Because sometimes one word is all it takes to awaken something we thought was lost. And if this message speaks to something inside you, if you want to walk this path of healing, self-discovery, and timeless beauty, I invite you to subscribe to Psyche Healing. This space isn't about pretending to be younger. It's about rediscovering the kind of light that doesn't age. They say time changes everything, but that's not entirely true. Time doesn't decide how bright your light shines. It only reveals what's already there. The women who carry this timeless glow are not untouched by pain. In fact, they've often walked through the deepest shadows. Carl Jung called it meeting the shadow, facing the unspoken, the hidden, the parts of ourselves we often try to cover up. While others run away from that darkness, these women learn to sit with it. They've cried behind closed doors, whispered prayers no one else could hear, and looked at their own reflection when it felt unbearable. But instead of turning away, they stayed. They didn't silence their pain. They listened. And little by little, that darkness became their teacher. It's strange, isn't it? How a woman who has been through storms can end up more radiant than someone who's never been hurt. But that's the quiet secret of inner beauty. The soul that has walked through darkness learns how to shine from within. It's not about erasing the past, it's about transforming it. Every scar becomes a map. Every tear becomes water that softens the heart. In the US, I've met women who've gone through unimaginable things, losing loved ones, facing divorce after decades, rebuilding their lives from nothing. And yet when they speak, their voice carries a stillness that draws you in. It's not weakness, it's strength that no longer needs to shout. That is the power of meeting your shadow. When you stop hiding from the pain stops controlling you. And when that happens, something magical begins to happen in the way you move, the way you look at the world, the way you hold yourself. A woman who has made peace with her darkness doesn't need to chase beauty. She becomes beauty. Not the kind that fades in a mirror, but the kind that lingers in people's hearts. That's why some women at 50 radiate a grace that women at 30 can't always understand. They have lived and their souls have turned pain into light. As you listen to this, maybe there's a part of you that's remembering the things you've buried, the grief, the betrayal, the weight you've carried alone. But here's the truth, that part of you isn't broken. It's waiting to be heard, waiting to be embraced, waiting to turn into your greatest strength. There's something quietly powerful about a woman who stops counting her age in years and starts measuring her life in moments of aliveness. Carl Jung once said that when a person reconnects with their inner self, they step out of chronological time and into something far deeper, what he called the time of the soul. This is why some women seem to age differently, not because they've found a way to stop the clock, but because they've learned to live in a rhythm that the clock can't measure. When you live in soul time, the calendar loses its grip on you. You stop defining yourself by the number of candles on a birthday cake and start defining yourself by how awake you feel inside. Think about it. Some of the most radiant women are not those who are desperately trying to look younger. They are the ones who are fully alive right where they are. I remember speaking with a woman in California. She was 61 with silver strands in her hair and lines that told 1,000 stories. But when she spoke, her eyes carried a spark that felt like sunrise. She said to me, "I don't feel 61. I feel infinite." And in that moment, I understood what Jung meant. When your soul is alive, time can't define you anymore. It might leave marks on your skin, but it cannot touch the way your presence feels. Most people live trapped inside Chronos, the mechanical time, the ticking of the clock, the rush of the days. It's a time that constantly whispers, "You're running out." That voice makes people chase youth, chase beauty, chase an image that keeps slipping away. But when a woman steps into Kairos, the time of the soul, everything shifts. It's no longer about racing against time. It's about dancing with it. Have you ever noticed how people remember how you make them feel more than how you look? When your soul carries light, people don't see years. They see energy. They feel warmth. They remember presence. That is why some women at 50 seem more magnetic than they were at 30. Not because they've erased age, but because they've learned to live outside of it. One woman I met in New York shared her story with me. She said that after her 50th birthday, she made a quiet promise to herself. No more fighting time, no more hiding the mirror. Instead, she would fill her life with things that make her pulse quicken again. She began painting, dancing, walking barefoot on the beach whenever she traveled. She told me, "I used to be afraid of every wrinkle. Now I see them as proof that I've lived." Her face glowed, not because she found the perfect serum, but because she found her rhythm again. She no longer walked through the world trying to prove anything. She walked like someone who owned her time, and owning your time is the most powerful beauty secret of all. In soul time, there is no too late. There's no you should have done this earlier. There's only now. That now can be soft and quiet, like a morning breeze. It can also be fiery, like a woman who remembers who she truly is. And when that happens, everything around her begins to respond. People notice the shift, not in how she looks, but in how she feels. Time is not your enemy. The fear of time is. When we fear time, we shrink ourselves. We rush, we panic, we cling to what is slipping away. But when we befriend time, when we meet it with calm eyes, something miraculous happens. Age stops being a weight. It becomes a kind of music, and the women who dance to it become unforgettable. Carl Jung believed that aging can be a spiritual awakening, not a loss. He believed that after a certain age, people are invited to turn inward, not as an escape, but as a way to uncover their true self. And when a woman accepts that invitation, her energy becomes timeless. She doesn't fight the years, she flows with them. And this flow creates a grace that no cosmetic procedure can replicate. If you've ever looked in the mirror and felt like time was your opponent, maybe this is the moment to rewrite that story. What if, instead of seeing each passing year as something being taken from you, you saw it as a layer of depth being added? What if you started to see your face not as something fading, but as something becoming more real? Soul time isn't about ignoring the mirror. It's about looking at it with softness, seeing the woman who has lived, who has survived, who has loved, who has cried, and saying, "I'm still here, and I'm still beautiful." As you breathe in, let that truth settle into your chest. You are not behind. You are not too late. You are exactly where your soul wants you to be. And the moment you remember that, the years lose their power over you. There comes a moment in every woman's life when she realizes she can no longer keep living for everyone else. For years, she may have carried the weight of expectations as a mother, a partner, a daughter, a friend. She smiled when she was tired, given when she was empty, and stayed quiet when her heart wanted to speak. And then, one day, she looks in the mirror and realizes the woman looking back at her isn't the girl she once was. She's stronger, she's wiser, but she's also tired of disappearing into other people's needs. Carl Jung believed that the second half of life isn't meant to be a continuation of the first. It's meant to be a transformation. The first half is about building families, careers, identities. But the second half is about returning to the soul. It's about choosing yourself again. And when a woman chooses herself, the light that once dimmed inside her begins to rise again. In the United States, I've spoken with women who spent their entire lives being everything to everyone. One woman in Texas told me she spent 25 years raising kids, taking care of her husband, working full-time, and never taking a single vacation alone. When her children grew up and left home, she felt empty, not because she didn't love them, but because somewhere along the way, she had lost the sound of her own voice. She said, "I didn't even know what I liked anymore. I forgot how to choose myself." But then something shifted. She started walking alone in the park every morning, something she had never done before. She began painting again, something she used to love as a young woman. She learned to drink her coffee slowly, without rushing. She began saying no without guilt. And slowly, like the first light of dawn, her energy returned. She told me, "I didn't become younger. I became real again." That is the quiet magic of choosing yourself. When you begin to honor your needs, your soul begins to breathe again. And that breathing shows up on your face, in your voice, in the way you walk through the world. People notice, but more importantly, you notice. Many women fear that putting themselves first is selfish. But the truth is, you can't shine when you're burning yourself out for others. Choosing yourself is not about abandoning anyone. It's about no longer abandoning yourself. Carl Jung often spoke of individuation, the process of becoming who you truly are rather than who the world told you to be. This is not a loud, dramatic rebellion. It's a soft, quiet homecoming. It's the moment when a woman says, "I am enough." I once met a woman in Chicago who described this moment perfectly. She said that after 50, she stopped chasing what didn't love her back. She stopped explaining herself to people who didn't care to understand. She stopped fighting battles that were never hers. Instead, she started listening to the small, soft voice inside her that she had ignored for decades. That voice didn't demand perfection. It only asked her to come home. And when she did, everything changed. Her posture straightened, her eyes brightened. She laughed more. She walked through life with a calmness that felt magnetic. She didn't wear more makeup or buy expensive clothes. She wore confidence, the kind that can't be bought. This is the true power of choosing yourself. You stop living on someone else's timeline and start living in your own rhythm. You stop chasing and begin receiving. You stop fighting your reflection and begin recognizing the woman who's been there all along, waiting to be seen. If you've ever felt invisible, if you've ever looked in the mirror and thought, "Where did I go?" I want you to know this. You are still here. The woman you once were didn't disappear. She's just waiting behind all the noise. Choosing yourself is how you bring her back. It's never too late to give yourself permission to live fully. Whether you're 45, 55, or 75, this moment belongs to you. You don't have to shrink to make others comfortable. You don't have to apologize for existing. You don't have to explain your softness, your silence, your strength. When you finally choose yourself, something almost mystical happens. Life begins to respond to you differently. You meet new people who reflect your light back to you. Opportunities begin to appear. Not because you're chasing them, but because you're walking in your true frequency. Even your body begins to feel lighter. This is not magic, it's alignment. Carl Jung believed that the soul waits patiently for us to return to it. And when we finally do, it welcomes us without judgment. That is where your beauty lives, not in what the world tells you to be, but in what your soul has always known. So take a breath. Place your hand on your heart. Whisper to yourself, "I choose me." Say it again. Say it softly, as if you're speaking to a friend who's been waiting for years to hear it. Because you are. And the moment you choose yourself, truly choose yourself, you don't just become more beautiful. You become whole. There comes a time when a woman realizes that her beauty was never meant to be a race against the clock. It was always meant to be a reflection of her soul. When you begin to return to yourself, when you stop running, stop fighting, and stop hiding behind the world's expectations, something miraculous happens. The light you thought was gone begins to rise again, softly, steadily, without permission from anyone. Carl Jung believed that the soul waits for us, patiently. It doesn't scream, it whispers. It calls us back through quiet moments, in the stillness of the night, in the reflection of the mirror, in the way our hearts ache for something we can't name. That ache is not weakness. It is your soul asking to be seen again. You see, the journey isn't about looking younger. It's about feeling alive again. It's about standing in front of the mirror and recognizing the woman looking back at you, not as someone who has lost her spark, but as someone who has walked through fire and learned to glow from within. It's about remembering that your worth is not written on your skin, but carved into your being. In the US, I've met women from all walks of life, from New York to Texas, from California to quiet small towns. different faces, different stories, but beneath those differences, they all shared the same truth. At some point, they thought their best years were behind them, and then they found out they were wrong. Because the most radiant years are not the ones when your skin is the smoothest. They are the years when your soul is awake. One woman I met in Seattle told me something I'll never forget. She said, "I thought my beauty had an expiration date, but it didn't. I just needed to come home to myself." She wasn't wearing designer clothes or hiding behind layers of makeup. She was standing there with soft lines around her eyes and a quiet, powerful glow. That is the kind of beauty the world remembers. If you're listening to this, maybe there's a part of you that recognizes what I'm saying. Maybe you've spent years caring for others, giving, loving, sacrificing, and forgetting the sound of your own voice. Maybe you've stared at the mirror and whispered, "Where did I go?" I want to tell you something with all the softness in my heart. You are still here. The woman you once were has not disappeared. She's waiting, not to be rescued, not to be fixed, but to be chosen by you. The real beauty isn't in trying to look like the past. It's in becoming fully present with the woman you are now. The woman who has lived, who has felt, who has endured, who has risen. Every wrinkle is a story. Every line on your face is a testament to nights survived and mornings reborn. Don't let the world convince you to erase them. Let them be your crown. Let them be your truth. The most magnetic energy in the world is not youth. It's peace. And when a woman reaches a place of peace with herself, she becomes unforgettable. Not because she's trying to prove something, but because she no longer needs to. This is not the end of your story. This is a homecoming. This is the beginning of a new chapter where beauty no longer depends on age, but on the courage to be fully alive. So, take a slow breath with me. Let it fill your chest. Let it remind you, this moment belongs to you. Not yesterday, not tomorrow, now. And if these words have spoken to something deep inside you, if they've awakened even the smallest spark in your heart, I want to invite you to walk this journey with me. This space, Psyche Healing, was created for women like you, women who want more than surface-level beauty tips, women who want to reconnect with their souls, to rise with grace, to shine with the kind of light that never ages. Here, we don't chase youth. We awaken power. We don't escape time. We dance with it. We don't hide behind fear. We embrace the woman we've become. So, if you're ready, subscribe to this channel. Not as a follower, but as a woman who is choosing herself again, as someone who is reclaiming her story. Every week, I'll be here, sharing reflections, ancient wisdom, Jungian psychology, and quiet reminders that your light is still yours. And if something in your heart is whispering, yes, then let that whisper be the first step back home.